Okay. To keep continuing on the lovely extravaganza called try to do more stuff on Sunday to promote throughout the week, I've started reading Bone. It's like a pretty big collection, like over, wait, almost 1,200 pages, I think. I've gotten about 100 pages in, and it has a very simple, straightforward setup. These three Bone brothers basically get lost in the wilderness, or like they set out to go somewhere, and then shenanigans happen. Very simple setup. Uh, I enjoy that with comics. Like, you don't have to get into some deep, history or lore. It's just something that will unfurl over time rather than beat you over the head with exposition. It doesn't even explain too much in the beginning, which is just fine. You're learning things as the character learns stuff. That's what makes it, the in media res stuff pretty effective for me personally, as both a reader and a writer. It again, everything doesn't have to be like in your face, like this is the explanation for X, Y, or Z. I like finding out things as the characters find stuff out, because it's like a little mystery on every page, and then you just keep wanting to flip pages. It's, again, like for a long day at work, sometimes I'd like to come home and just read a couple of pages and then just see where the adventure goes. Nothing big to it. But to get about to some of the details, I like how, and I know not a lot of comic books have a lot of black and white anymore, but this thing, it's pretty effective. The lines are pretty clear. You can tell what every character's doing. Even though the expressions are simple, you can tell what each character's even thinking sometimes with whatever facial expression's going on. I like the overall more cartoony design. And even within the first couple of pages, they come across all sorts of different kind of critters in the environment. You just can't go wrong. A lot of stories will have just the hero or their cast encountering various pitfalls, and like I've said before with other books, I get more of my attention of like, how are they going to get out of this one? Uh-oh, Raggy, how are we going to escape this one? That's just pretty simple, to the point. No excess, stuff cluttering up the page. I can see why that this series, won the awards that it did, because a lot of comic books nowadays have just forgotten the simple art of storytelling and just like basically setting stuff up where there's a complete story in every volume, and you're not basically extending it out over say like 24 issues of a Bendis clusterfuck. It is basically maybe one page in a real book, that sort of thing. Like, decompressing stuff out way too much, I think, has hurt a lot of comic books. But then, that's just my opinion. Make of it what you will. Woo! And it looks like it's going to have a wider story to it, but I like how he just initially introduces these three characters again, with a very simple setup. They're lost in the desert, and it looks like they were, kicked out of their home, and they're trying to navigate through a map, with a map, and then they almost immediately get separated. And, that's a good way to you just need, sometimes with storytelling, you just need, like, little simple hooks. You don't have to spell things out for the reader. You can let them basically learn about the environment directly through the character, and you don't even have to worry about, this is just my opinion, but when you're starting a story, don't worry about like the basic like family setup you might have, or the characters' relationships or anything else like that. You kind of just have to hook a reader through the general mystery of the setting and like what your overall big conflict might be. Or even like in the case of this comic, yeah, basically even Lost in Space had a similar thing where, yeah, you saw this family, but you didn't really get into their whole entire family setup until later. The initial hook was they got lost in space. Yeah. Yeah. I really do wish more comic books would take this more simple approach. You know, you can even start the story off small and then grow it over time. You know, kind of like how a lot of old serials did it, where you introduce a handful of characters, then you have them go about doing simple hooks, like little mysteries to hook the reader, and then you open up the wider world to them. And I have a feeling, based on what I can see of this comic so far, that's what Bone is going to do. And since these three cousins have, different personalities, they're going to see the world in different ways, which should make things even more interesting. Like, it kind of reminds me, in a weird way, of like the Three Stooges, but not as slapstick. Just in terms of like the one Bone is a little bit more overbearing than the other two. One of them's fairly curious, and then the other one seems to be kind of like lackadaisical, I guess, in a way. But I won't know for more until I keep reading. Which, what, this thing has gotten me through the first 100 pages or so far. I'm going to keep reading. That's about it, everybody. This is like basically part one, my initial like introduction with Bone, and that's all a story or comic or any kind of medium has to do. All it does have to provide is a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of action. Depending on the reader, they'll either get their tension from how are the characters going to get out versus is anybody going to die. I would say Bone is more how are the characters going to get out of their situation kind of tension, rather than earth shattering kind of stakes and stuff to it. So if you're more like me, where you just want something that's fun, light, and entertaining so far, like, I'd say give Bone a look. And here ends part one. Have a good day, everybody.